Booktube, Sarah here, and welcome to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with my January 2019 month-end wrap-up. So in this video I'm going to wrap up all the books that I finished reading between January 16th and January 31st, along with giving you guys my stats for the month of January, which I always like doing. So I have 18 books that I finished in that time period. So without any further ado, let's get started. As per usual, we will start off with my stats. I read 30 books in total in the month of January. For my Goodreads goal, I am 5 books ahead of schedule and I'm at about 10% of my goal completed. My goal for January, or for 2019, is 300 books. I read 1 1.5 star book, 3 3-star books, 13 3.5 star books, 8 4-star books, 1 4.5 star book, and 1 5-star book. I read 18 contemporary romance novels, no surprise there. I read 2 historical romances, American West. I read 2 inspirational romances, 2 paranormal romances, 1 chick lit, 1 cozy mystery, 1 historical romance that took place in during the Civil War, 1 romantic suspense, 1 YA romance, and 1 historical romance, the Gregorian time period. For the Harlequin imprints, I do like mentioning which ones of these I read. I read 2 special edition, 1 desire, 1 intrigue, 1 Harlequin romance, 1 super romance, 1 love inspired, and 1 silhouette romance. I read 28 books geared towards adults, 1 YA and 1 new adult. I read 1 book published in the 1970s, 3 published in the 1980s, 1 published in the 1990s, 2 published during the 2000s. And then after this, the new Let's Read spreadsheet, Brock actually broke it down by year from 2010 to 2020. So I read 3 published in 2010, 1 in 2011, 2 in 2014, 3 in 2015, 2 published in 2016, 3 published in 2017, 3 published in 2018, and 6 books published in 2019, which is very good. I really like seeing that number a lot higher. I listened to 15 audiobooks this month, and I read 11 ebooks and 4 paperbacks. 29 of the books that I read were novels, and 1 was a novella. 22 of the books that I read this month were part of a series that I am reading or have started, and 8 books were standalone. Of those 22 books that were part of a series, 9 were new series that I started. Oops. 12 are part of ongoing series that I'm currently reading, and 1 I completed a series, so that's always exciting. I read a grand total of 9,182 pages, excuse me, and that equals out to roughly about 296 pages per day. That's not too shabby. So I do have an area for my stats that give the hours of audiobook listening time, but I might hold off till the end of the year to share that one. Unless you guys are interested to hear what it is month to month, do let me know. But those are included, of course, in my page count, because I do take a page count even for the audiobooks that I listen to. So let's get into all the books that I finished in the last half of the month. So the first one was Fade to Black by Heather Graham. This was a paranormal romance. Book number 24 in the Crew of Hunters series, narrated on audio by Luke Daniels. Publication date was June of 2018. This has an average rating of 4.09 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. This one was a lot of fun. If you like comic books and comic conventions and things like that, Old Hollywood as well is kind of represented in this book. The Crew of Hunters is a great series if you're not familiar with it. They are a paranormal investigations team, and each story is different characters within the Crew of Hunters. And this one, like I said, took place in Hollywood and kind of involved that whole superhero kind of thing that's going on now in Hollywood, and it was a lot of fun. Next up was Murder Likes It Hot by Tracy Weber, Cozy Mystery Series. This is book number 6 in the Downward Dog Mystery Series. It was published originally in January of 2019. I read this one for NetGalley. Average rating of 4.27 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 4 stars. This is a really cute series, cozy mystery series that can go a little dark in some of the topics that are discussed. In this book, for example, there are homeless children, and it discusses some of their time at home and abuse and things like that that they may suffer, so do keep that in mind. But the series itself is about a woman who owns a yoga studio, and she has a dog named Bella. And yeah, she's our amateur sleuth. It's a really fun series, and I do recommend it. Next up, Abigails Adventure by Carolyn Lee. This is a historical romance American West book. Book number 1 in the Alphabet Mail Order Bride series. This one is for Kindle Unlimited, and it's part of the Kindle Unlimited books that I am reading throughout the year. Published originally in January of 2019, so this one is also a new release. Average rating of 4.52 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. This one, borderline, was a novella. I don't know exactly what the page count cutoff is between a novel and a novella, but it came at just over 150 pages. So I like to consider anything less than 150 pages to be a novella. So I did count this one as a novel, even though really it was like right on the borderline. And this series is about 25 women. No, there's not 26. There is one woman whose name starts with the letter X that doesn't have her own book, but you kind of find out bits and pieces of her story throughout all the rest of the books. But each woman has a different, their name starts with a different letter of the alphabet. It's a really fun premise. It's written by a bunch of different authors. Like I said, they're not terribly long, right around 100 to 150 pages each. And this is Abigail's story and how she becomes a mail order bride and heads out west and, has to, work with her new husband and things like that. It was really, really cute. Short, quick read. These are clean stories. So if you're interested, definitely give them a try out. And again, they are part of Kindle Unlimited if you're interested. Next up, Simply Irresistible by Jill Shalvis. This is a contemporary romance novel. Book number 1 in the Lucky Harbor series. Narrated on audio by Celeste Kalua. Published originally in October of 2010. Average rating of 3.92 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 4 stars. I love this. I love Jill Shalvis. She is one of my very favorite authors. This is, of course, the start of the Lucky Harbor series, which was a big series for her. I do believe it's now complete. I think there was 12 books or something like that in total in the series. And in this one, our main character heads to Lucky Harbor because she has inherited an inn from her mother. And her 2 half-sisters are both there with her. And, of course, there's a guy involved. Very hot and spicy, but really, really fun. I really do enjoy this series a lot. Next up, You'll Think of Me by Robin Lee Hatcher. This is a inspirational romance novel. Book number 1 in the Thunder Creek series. Narrated on audio by Wendy Lanzi. Published originally in April of 2017, excuse me. 4.10 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. This one was cute. I didn't realize going into it that it is an inspirational romance, so there is a lot of religion involved in this one. I had a few issues with this one. It's about a woman who leaves town when she's quite young with her boyfriend, ends up getting pregnant, so they get married, and then he leaves her and the baby, and then she doesn't hear from him again. And then he ends up dying, and she doesn't find out till afterward. And he leaves his house back in their old hometown to his daughter. So she, of course, heads home with the little girl, and they try and make a go of it back in town. My issue with it is that a couple things. The first thing was I felt the romance between her and the neighbor was a little too quick. It was like they hated each other, and then all of a sudden they go on one date, and then something happens, and, oh, we're meant to be together forever. The other thing was I have no problem. I enjoy inspirational romances. I say this all the time. But I found this one to be exceptionally religious. They relied on God to make all their decisions for them, in a way. So that is one thing within inspirational romance that I don't care for. Like to rely on that for everything. And I don't know, maybe it's just an easy way out. Maybe that's the way I look at it. I don't know. I don't want to offend anybody, and I'm sorry if I am. I have no problem. If this is your faith, then kudos to you. It bothers me in books because, again, I just think it's the author maybe taking the easy way out, if you will. The next book that I finished was Breathless by Lee Lavale. This is another contemporary romance novel, book number 1 in the Yoga in the City series. This book was published in May of 2017. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.36 stars. I gave it 3 stars. I had a few problems with this one as well. It's about 2 people who meet by chance. She's hiking in the woods. She's not the smartest cookie in the jar or the brightest bulb in the box, if you will. And she's out hiking without any supplies and a pair of tennis shoes, and she ends up spraining her ankle. And thank goodness this guy comes along to help her. And he kind of helps her out, and they figure they're never going to see each other again. And then, of course, they run into each other because she works at and co-owns this yoga studio in Boulder, Colorado. And he just so happens to be working for the company that is refacing the building that this yoga studio is in. So, of course, now they're in constant contact with each other. This book gets very, very hot and spicy. One of the things that kind of bugged me about it, and I didn't really even think about it until afterward, until my friend Mandy pointed out, because she read this one too with me. This is also available on Kindle Unlimited. That they kept going on and on about how she was like not a yoga person, because even though she was a teacher and she was a certified teacher, but you know, because she drank Diet Coke and she wasn't Zen and she wasn't, you know, whatever. I love yoga. One of my goals in life is to get my certification to teach eventually. I enjoy coffee. I can be extremely unzen a lot of the time, and I don't like the fact they had to keep pointing out that she wasn't part of the stereotype. I like that she wasn't part of the stereotype. The other thing is that they kept saying like how she was heavy and how she was big and how she looked. And then it was like said somewhere in the book that she was like a size 6. I'm like, I know people who would love to be a size 6. That is nowhere near being big at all, not even close. So yeah, that was a little bit of a turnoff as well. And there was a few other things in the book. I found her, as much as I liked the fact that she wasn't the typical stereotypical yoga teacher that you often see in books and things like that, I found her a little flighty, and I didn't really like her so much. Him I did like. And, you know, there were some other things with their whole relationship. They decided to do the whole friends with benefits thing. And then she kind of totally gets mad at him when he's like, well, we're done now. And she gets mad, like, what did you expect? This is what you signed up for, kind of an idea. So I don't want to keep ranting on it. Didn't love it. It wasn't bad. I'm going to continue on with the series because it was more the characters that I didn't like and the situations than it was the actual writing of the book. So, yeah. Next book that I finished was Cloud Over Paradise by Abra Taylor. This is a contemporary romance novel. Harlequin Super Romance Novel number 5. This was published originally in July of 1981. This is part of my 40 Years of Harlequin project that I'm doing. 3.34 stars on Goodreads. I only gave this one 3 stars. This one was okay. It wasn't great. It's about a woman who signs up for a job that she really doesn't know too much about, and it turns out it's being some guy's wife, like in name only originally, and then he falls for her, and then the whole book is him trying to win her over. So it was kind of fun, but I didn't love it. I don't know. It was a longer book, and I just felt it could have been a lot shorter for the story that they were trying to tell, or that the author was trying to tell. So, you know, sometimes less is more. If you know what I mean. Next up, a book that I loved, From Twinkle with Love by Sandia Menon. This is a YA romance novel. It was narrated on audio by Sunil Nankanai, I believe is how you say her name. I do apologize. And Vikas Adam. This was published in May of 2018. Average rating on Goodreads of 3.67 stars. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this. This is the same author that wrote When Dimple Met Rishi, which I read last year and I loved. And I may have pre-ordered on hardcover her new book coming out in May because I love them that much. And I want to pick up these first 2 books on hardcover as well for my collection because I love them that much. And if you guys know, if you've watched my channel, these are all I have for my bookshelves. Other than my Harlequin print books, this is all I have. So books that go on here, I really, really like. So yeah, I want to get these ones all on hardcover because I think they're adorable. So this is about a woman a girl, not a woman, a girl by the name of Twinkle who's in high school, and she aspires to be a film director when she grows up. And the entire story is told in diary entries to other famous women film directors, along with text messages and emails. There is dialogue and all those things, but it's told from the perspective of her telling the story by writing these diary entries. And she is in love with this boy who's part of the popular crowd, and she ends up working with his twin brother for this film project. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. These covers are gorgeous. And yeah, I think this book was just so much fun. I absolutely recommend it. I am not a big YA reader, if you guys didn't know that, but I loved this book. I absolutely loved it. Next up, Yours to Keep by Shannon Stacy. This is another contemporary romance novel. Book number 3 in the Kowalski family series. This one was narrated on audio by Lauren Fortgang. Published originally in February of 2012. Average rating of 4.06 stars on Goodreads. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This wasn't one of my favorite Shannon Stacy novels. I enjoyed this series a great deal. It's about a family, the Kowalski family, and each story is, of course, about a different family member. But in this one, this was the marriage of convenience sort of trope where the 2 of them are not actually getting married, but they're pretending to be married or pretending to be engaged to let her grandmother know that she's doing okay. There were a few things in this I didn't like. I found our main character Sean to be a little sexist at times, and the whole premise of them not even ever meeting in person, and then suddenly this, you know, she comes to him and's like, I need you to be my fiance, and he's like, thinks about it for like a night and is like, yeah, okay, sure. Like, you know, I would have liked it if they'd known each other beforehand, perhaps, before they tried to pull off this ruse, but c'est la vie, it is what it is. Didn't hate it, but not my favorite Chan and Stacy, but still, this is an absolutely worthwhile series for you to check out if you're interested. Next up, The Magnolia Inn by Carolyn Brown. This is another contemporary romance novel. This was published in January of 2019. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.15 stars. I gave it 4 stars. This was another NetGalley read. This one was totally adorable, about 2 people who inherit an inn, and they work together to fix it back up and open it back up as a bed and breakfast. It is a relatively clean story as well, and there are some great cookie side characters. The aunts, our main character Jolene, her aunt is the one who willed her, or who, I shouldn't say willed her, because the aunt didn't pass away. Her and her husband have decided to retire and get in an RV and travel all over the US. And the aunt has friends, and, you know, these older ladies, you know, kind of butt their noses in. And, you know, I talked about this in my weekly vlogs, that Carolyn Brown's writing very much in a way reminds me of Fanny Flagg, with the Southern aspect of it. Of how Southern these books are, you know, very Fanny Flagg, very designing women, that kind of a culture, that kind of a down-home feel. Absolutely love these books, or love Carolyn Brown's books, and this one was just absolutely great. Next up, The Way You Look Tonight by Bella Andre, another contemporary romance novel. Book number 2 in the Seattle Sullivan series. This was narrated on audio by Eva Kaminsky. Published originally in January of 2014. Average rating of 4.07 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3 stars. This one was cute. It was about 2 people who knew each other when they were much younger, and they run into each other again and decide to kind of do the whole friends with benefits relationship. It's very much an insta-love or an insta-lust type of book. There is a lot of adult content in this book. I had a few issues with the fact that they were absolutely fine with being together, even though they really don't know each other now as adults. You know, they knew the last time they saw each other, they were in their very early teens, if that. And now all of a sudden they're in their 30s, and it's like, oh my God, it's just like I saw you yesterday. No, it's not. You know, if I ran into somebody that I haven't seen since I was, you know, 13, I'm not going to know that person. That person's totally changed. So I had some issues with that aspect of it. Typically, insta-love or insta-lust doesn't bother me so much, but it was more the background of this one that bothered me more than anything. Next up, we have Rhythm, Chord, and I always say this wrong, and Macalin, I believe, and it's by Mariana Zepeda. This is a contemporary romance narrated on audio by Carly Robbins. Published originally in August of 2015. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.07 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked this one. It was fun. It was about a girl or a woman, this is a new adult, who ends up going on tour with her brother's band. And what I really liked about this story is that the band itself was not some big famous rock band where they were like the most famous people in the whole world. This was like famous to their own fans kind of an idea. And so she goes on tour with them for about 3 months and ends up having a relationship with the lead singer of the other band that they're touring with. So it was a lot of fun. Great, you know, some really fun bits with her and her twin brother as adults, like the teasing back and forth. Some of it I found to be a little bit much, and I didn't get it because I don't have that relationship, that kind of a relationship with my brother. We're close. We talk, we visit, you know, what have you. But with the brother and sister in this book, it was very much like almost a relentless teasing of each other throughout the course of the entire book. And my brother and I have way grown up out of that. We grew up out of that out of high school. You know, whereas these 2 people are still in their, like, they're in their mid-20s and still doing it. So that part of it I didn't get, just because that's not the relationship I have with my own brother. Next up is Corporate Affair by Stephanie James. This is another contemporary romance. This is the very first Harlequin Desire novel, which was a lot of fun. Published originally in June of 1982. Average rating of 3.59 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3 stars. This is another one for my 40 Years of Harlequin project. And it's It's about a woman who kind of was snubbed off by her ex-fiance. He thought she was going to inherit her father's company upon his death, and when he died, it turns out it went to a group of shareholders, so he dumped her because he was essentially marrying her for the company. Well, she decides to go to meet him to kind of, pull one over on him, essentially to get back at him for what he did to her. And she ends up running into this guy, and the two of them start to develop a relationship. So it was a fun story. I enjoyed it. Stephanie James is actually Jane Ann Krantz. So this is one of her pseudonyms that she writes under. So if you ever get a chance to pick this one up, I mean, it's kind of fun. It's a bit of a throwback. There are some questionable love scenes, if you will, in terms of consent. We would consider it questionable now, but back then, I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying. I mean, nobody steps over a line, but they come very close to that line. Let's put it that way. The next one I finished was A Temporary Courtship by Jenna Mandel. This is an inspirational romance novel. It is book number 3, the third and final book in the Maple Spring series. Love-inspired novel number 1025, published originally in September of 2016. Average rating on Goodreads of 4.10 stars. I gave it 3.5 stars. This one was cute. It's about a woman who is spending the summer at a cottage in Maple Springs, which is in, I want to say it's in Michigan, like really, really close to the Canadian border. And she's there with her mother for the summer, and she's going to be taking a job in Seattle after this. And she ends up meeting this man by the name of Darren, and the two of them kind of start to like each other and decide to spend the summer, as a couple kind of an idea, but not in that way, because of course it is an inspirational romance. So it's literally like going on dates, and he's taking her fishing and into the woods, and she's grown up her whole life in the city, and he's kind of showing her country life, if you will. And it's really, really cute. There's a little, there's an issue, or not an issue, but an incident towards the back at the end of the book with her ex-fiance, and it's, gets a little scary or hairy at times, if you will. And yeah, I mean, I liked it. It was cute, and it was a very quick little read. If you like these books, definitely give it a try. Next up, another one I cannot pronounce. What is it with names, you guys? Baloo's, I want to say is her name. One of you lovely viewers told me how to say this, and I did actually look it up. I should have done it before I sat down to film this video. But it's Baloo's Brains, I think, by Kristen Osborne. It's another historical romance, American West. Book number 2 in the Alphabet Mail Order Bride series, published again in January of 2019. Average rating of 4.47 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't like this one as much as the first one. This one I had some problems with the main characters. Both of them were very set in their ways. And, she goes out there to be his wife, kind of an idea. And he's expecting a probably typical for the time, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen kind of an idea. And she's like, no, I want to work. So, I mean, and that's fine. I think that's great. But the problem was that both of them were so set in these ways that they could not even meet halfway. And it got to be a little tedious as you read through the book. But outside of that, I thought it was cute. It was a quick read. This is the one I consider to be the novella, because it comes in at only 110 pages or something. So yeah, really cute and quick read. Again, available on Kindle Unlimited. Next up, just 3 more, you guys. Playing with Fire by Gina Showalter. This is a paranormal romance. Book number 1 in the Tales of an Extraordinary Girl series. This was narrated by Jessica Almstay. Published originally in September of 2006. Average rating of 3.93 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4 stars. This was my first paranormal by Gina Showalter. I have read her contemporary romance novels, and I really like them. This one I enjoyed a great deal. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's about a woman who, without her knowing, drinks a concoction that ends up giving her the powers of the 4 elements. And now all of a sudden these bad guys are after her, this paranormal investigations team. She doesn't know who to trust, who's trying to kill her, who's trying to help her. Our main character, Belle, was sassy and witty and didn't take crap from anybody. I absolutely love this one. I thought it was a lot of fun. This is a duology, so there is another book in this series. I will be definitely picking it up. And I'm now kind of interested to try more of Gina Showalter's paranormal works, because I really did enjoy this one. So if any of you are fans of Gina Showalter's more paranormal books, please let me know where to start, because I know there's a whole bunch of them, but I'd love to put some more on my TBR to eventually get to. Next up, Blind Date Bet by Nicole Flockton. This is a contemporary romance novel, book number 1 in the Man's Best Friend series. Published in January of 2019. This is another NetGalley read. Average rating of 3.53 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. This is the story of a man and a woman who meet on a blind date, and she initially kind of takes off from him because when she realizes that he's in the military, because her husband was also in the military. She's a widow, and he died, and she doesn't want to go through that again, which is completely understandable. But as the story wore on, I found some of her reasoning to keep getting more and more, not flawed, but just was a little too much. The other thing that kind of really bothered me, and some people may find this odd, but I'm going to just state it here. I talked about this in my vlog as well. The series is called Man's Best Friend. The cover features a dog. The dog appears in the story 3 or 4 times, like has a scene. The dog is talked about, but you barely see the dog. Like, what's the point of having, you know, his job, our main character's job, is a dog trainer for the military. Why isn't the dog more prominently featured? I don't know. A little bit of a disappointment. I wanted a good romance featuring a dog. I just love romance stories that have dogs in them as a secondary character. I think they're so much fun. I mean, I am a cat person through and through, but any kind of secondary character that is an animal, I just love seeing that. So yeah, so that one was a bit of a disappointment. And last but not least, Lone Heart Pass by Jodie Thomas. Contemporary romance novel, of course. Book number 3 in the Ransom Canyon series. This was narrated on audio by Julia Gibson. Published originally in April of 2016. 4.23 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 3.5 stars. I really do love the Ransom Canyon series. I think it's a lot of fun. What I enjoy about it, Jodie Thomas, the same with Robin Carr, they don't just tell one story. You're getting often bits and pieces of stories, of other stories within. And this is about a woman by the name of Jubilee who inherits a ranch from her great-grandfather upon his death. And she has no idea how to run a ranch. She's a city girl. She used to be a political, like, she would do the candidacy for political candidates, like run the behind the scenes show essentially. So she has no idea what she's doing running a ranch. So she hires this guy, and of course the two of them end up developing a relationship. Along with that, there's a dead body that's found in the canyon, and we meet back up with some of the characters we saw in previous books. This series is a lot of fun. I recommend that you start at the beginning because it is, you don't have to read them in order, but I think you get so much more when you do with a series like this because you do meet characters as the story progresses, or the different books progress. So yeah, a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, that is it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and what you thought about them, or what was your favorite book that you read in January, because I'd love to know that too. And until my next video, guys, take care and happy reading. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, guys.